Hey guys, grab your favorite 90s CD and your Sony Discman. Put on a teal windbreaker and jump into your Toyota MR2, because we're going on a road trip through the electric state. It's totally da bomb, man!
Hey guys, today we're going to look at The Electric State, an awesome picture book made by Simon Stollenhag. Yes, Simon Stollenhag. He's a popular artist in Sweden. You might have recognized him from Tales from the Loop and Things from the Flood. And this is the third book. He actually has one more book. I'm kind of hoping they also make that one into these kind of cool storytelling kind of games. They're kind of a fun, different from fantasy, and just like a fun diversion, and just like a, you can play like a quick one or two shot with it. So anyway, this one is really interesting. We can go on the back real quick. So it's all about road trips and the 90s. So I was totally on board for that. So we already have the game with the 80s, early 80s and late 80s with the previous two games, and this is all about the 90s. So that's really cool. So it's all about road trips, really. And another quick thing to mention about Netflix does have the Electric State movie on, and it's based on the book, but this RPG is not based on that movie. So if you didn't like it, it was okay. If you didn't like it, it's completely separate. If you did like it, you'll probably like this too. But this is really based on the book, so this came out first. It's really cool. So they both had this same, what do you want to call it? I don't know. Same source material. So it's all about, when did it start? I can't really remember. It started like any recreational activity, I guess, like TV. Sometimes they watch TV and sometimes they wouldn't sit there wearing their Neurocasters. I didn't care. It was after the big update of 1996 that things got weird. Mode 6. So yeah, there's kind of this war kind of scenario after this like civil war. It's like a slow moving apocalypse, kind of like, as the world kind of comes to a just ruins. And there's some neuromancy a little bit, so kind of a little cyberpunky, kind of, I guess. I don't know, tangentially. But the art is really cool, because Free League also always has really cool art, really easy to go through layout. So welcome to the Electric State. What we're doing isn't civilized, I know that. But I know it must have happened to you too. Like me, you must have woken up one day and suddenly realized the inevitable. We were no longer living in civilized times. So here's a guy just zoning out in his Neurocaster. So it's kind of like this virtual reality that's too fantastic that people don't even want to leave, because their normal lives are just so terrible. So I don't want to go through the whole setting, but just more flavors, like torn apart by a second civil war. All but a few Americans find escape in the blissful neuronic network known as the Electric State. Outside this virtual paradise, the wrecked bulks of battle drones litter the countryside, heaped together in a loam of trash tech from a consumer society in decline. And then there's some more. I don't want to read all that. I want you to have fun reading into it. So again, this game is set in an alternate version of the late 1990s. We know from our world, the year is 1997, and after a period of great turmoil, civilization is irreversibly crumbling. So it kind of takes place in this area called Pacifica, which is basically California over here, but you could set it anywhere. You don't have to use the setting in here, or you could kind of change the state or even country. It doesn't really matter. It's just flavoring. You can take and leave what you want. But it does have a lot of 90s nostalgia. There's like a whole, you roll on your soundtrack and the car you have. So it has a lot of that cool 90s soundtrack. And what did we learn from The Matrix and Agent Smith? Which I think he's totally right. 1999 was the peak of human civilization, more or less. So it just goes over the chapters. So you have all these cool landscapes, and you could really show players who have no idea and you don't really want to tell them too much. Just give them all these pictures. They just tell the story. So again, this story is about a journey. So you go on like several stops. So you have scenes like in a movie, like a beginning, middle, end. And throughout there in your journey, you have stops. And each stop has little encounters. They could be, and it doesn't mean combat. It could be, very much ET-ish too. You don't need guns and stuff like that. We just have these kids running around, or it could be adults too. So it's kind of cool. You can kind of play as you like. Here's like an example of the drones with, basically advertising on them. Talks a little bit about that. So rolling dice. This character sheet is super simple. I'll show it to you. There it is. So here's like some NPCs in it. So you just have your name, archetype, which is kind of like your profession, job, favorite song, description. You have 4 stats. That's it. Health, hope, bliss, and so your hope goes down as things. Let me back that up. You have your health. So you roll one of the stats plus maybe your gear or something else, a background, and that'll give you like a little bonus die. And you can push that. If you push and you fail your push, you lose your hope. And at 0 hope, I'll go over that a little bit later. Bliss, as you depend on the neurocasters, the electric state, you build up a lot of bliss and you just stay in there and become basically a zombie kind of thing. And then you have talents, dream, flaws, some tension, journeys, some gear. So it's really about telling a cool story and not so much about the stats, although the stats kind of give you the what to roll when there's kind of something at stake. So that's pretty cool. It's fun to do different things instead of just smacking people with swords, which I do love, but it's nice to do something different. So there's principles of the game, play to find out. So there's kind of a mystery going on or like some quest. So it has things like travelers are seekers. So usually there's like something in there that is causing, and they kind of give you some ideas. We'll read that later. There's a lot of later stuff. Sorry about that. That we'll kind of come back to. The journey is the goal. World is falling apart. Neuronics are everywhere. It's the 90s, but not. So basically, it's the 90s, but our world kind of changed slightly. Not exactly the 90s. This goes over the state of Pacifica, but you could just change that to anything, really. Here's like some drones and stuff. So they have here, extinction is the slow rolling apocalypse. So it's not a post-apocalyptic. It's just kind of like the falling of humanity, essentially. But you don't even have to play it that way either. And here's some summarizations of the world, place to start, where are we? It just kind of goes over like about the 90s and kind of what the world is kind of like. You have these huge towers, and these are basically the server farms for the electric state. It talks about when does it diverge, the Civil War, neuronics. But again, you can just use this. You don't have to use this setting in here, which is nice. I really love that. Of course, because I love skeletons, but that is cool. Basically, if you build up too much bliss, you never come out, and you'll just die wearing your headset. So it talks about neuronics a bit, some robots. We'll go into that. Yeah, here we go. Drone growths. So you could almost make it. When I first saw this, I actually thought it was kind of like you can kind of see these little guys and their neurocasters linked to this big AI drone of some kind that's kind of cobbled together. I almost thought it was kind of like a zombies kind of thing too, which I thought was cool, which you could integrate. So it's not really known what these things are, but sometimes they just spontaneously kind of form like through the electric state, the online area with these people. It's almost like this, the people are maybe giving the AI consciousness, I can't speak, or something like that. Or, it kind of tells you what they could be, what they couldn't be. It doesn't tell you exactly what they are, which I like mysteries. And this is Center, and they're the ones who invented the neurocasting, and they're kind of the bad guys ish if you need some. But they made the helmets, the system, and then at some point people, when they did this final update, it just became so perfect that people didn't want to leave, essentially. It tells all about that. It talks about Pacifica, Sacramento, Los Angeles, San Francisco, all the different areas you could do it. It's kind of US centric, but you can easily adapt it. It talks about some corporations, Center, Happy Cool, Life Buddy, Grizzly Burger, that you can, populate your world with, other nations. Where's Japan? There's no Japan. So then you pick your traveler, and you have an easy kind of creating your traveler and what they're about. So there's some archetypes. Then you just have like your strength, agility, wits, and empathy. So it's really easy to go. Here's like an example if you want the official dice. But any Free League Year Zero engine dice can be used. I usually use my Alien RPG. So you roll your stat if you want, and you roll a skill or a piece of gear. Anything you can kind of argue with your GM. I think I should get some bonus to this. They'll let you have it. Usually a +2 to anything, +1 to +2, or a -1, -2 to your die pool. You roll that. Anything that's not a 6 or a 1, you can re-roll, known as pushing. If you fail that by getting a 1 or a 6, then you lose your hope, and then you just go through despair, essentially. You can help some rolls by giving some people an extra die. Opposed rolls, health and hope. Health is obvious. Hope is reduced when pushing rolls and traumatic events. When it hits 0, you have a nervous breakdown and suffer a mental trauma, which is really interesting, and you can role play that out. Neurotics and bliss. So like I said, if your bliss ever equals or exceeds your current hope, you are unable to leave the electric state unless someone comes and gets you. There's different talents that you can have. Some personal stuff. And then you get to have like a song, and they give you a cool table, which is really awesome. I love tables. You get like, what is your journey? What is your vehicle? And somewhere on here, there's a roll table for your vehicle, some shared items that you get to have as a group. Your tension. So it's all about having tension, giving you that kind of like TV movie where like different characters have tension with each other. It could be good tension or bad tension. So good tension would be like you like this person and you either admit it or don't admit it, or even if it's you admit it and there's always that tension, or if it's bad. Now personally, I like tension, but I would have the tension be with an NPC, like 7 or something like that, or not 7, 13, like Stranger Things. I wouldn't really do it with between players because then it depends. It depends. But I think I would have the tension with the NPC. Like maybe one of the players likes the NPC or vice versa, and one doesn't like the NPC. So you can have some triangles, but usually player on player tension doesn't always work unless they're, really good at it and don't get a little upset. It depends. You can change your tension, that kind of thing. You can overcome your flaw. So here's kind of the breakdown in the art. So it's not bad. It's technically okay, but it's not Simon Stollenhag. So it's a little jarring for me. I don't really care too much because I always have my own image in my head, so it's not bad. It doesn't bother me too much. It's just it is a break. This is the only part that's Free League's art instead of Simon Stollenhag. So it's not too bad though. I don't bother. So you could be like an artist. You get like some talents, some dreams you might have, a flaw, your neurocaster type, and a personal item. You can be a criminal, a devotee, a doctor. I would totally probably be a doctor, like a paramedic type. Maybe I gotta like get this something like cure or documents across the country or something like that, and I have to go on a road trip. Drone pilot. So you're like someone hacked in and you're controlling this little drone. And I'm sure you could change what the drone looks like. That's just kind of one of the art pieces that they kind of drew themselves. Investigator, that's a pretty interesting idea. Go Agents of Poops, if you know who that is. You're cool. If not, you're still cool, but it's just a funny thing they have. Outsider, that's interesting. Runaway Kid, that's kind of fun. Scientist would be fun. Veteran would be pretty cool. I think my first playthrough, I'm going to do Paramedic. Combat and Neuronics. Combat is super simple. You got zones and range. Typical actions. You get an action and a free action. You do close combat, ranged combat. So you just roll your skill, and then and your weapon gives you a bonus to roll. Like if you got a chainsaw, you get a +1, and then just a static damage, how much you do. So combat is quick and easy. It's not really combat orientated, but you could run it either way. No combat at all, or tons of combat, because it's pretty simple and easy to run, like all the other Year Zero. Damage, what happens. So when you go to 0, you get incapacitated, and you can get wounds or trauma, which I always like, rather than going straight to 0, because it's just not as fun. I mean, sometimes it can be. It doesn't bother me either way. Body armor, if you're lucky. And here's like some serious injury tables. Free League knows how to make cool tables for the GM. Make things easy on us who don't always have tons of time to prep. Talks about losing hope, how to recover, your mental trauma, other hazards, explosive, fire, disease, neurocasting, how that works, your headset. So each of these give you different bonuses. So you have a processor, network, and graphics bonus. So like if you're trying to charm or like use social things, then you want a high graphics. You don't want to be a stick figure, that kind of thing. How to find information. So that, like I say, it's a little cyberpunk adjacent, or you could probably do a lot of you could do like Johnny Mnemonic. You could do kind of a Johnny Mnemonic with this thing. That would be cool. So and you could make a new thing. You can make your own types of archetypes, so you could make like a career. That would be cool. Drone, sweet drone. Oh, that's cool. I like that. The investigator. Talks more about combat. The drone combat. I would totally choose that one. The stash. Vehicles, a little bit on vehicle combat. It's all very simple. Got a gremlin over there. Accidents, accident table. If you lose control, that's cool. You could even fly an aircraft. I wouldn't do aircraft. Maybe a Cessna would be cool, but I wouldn't have it added in, but not serious. Because you want to totally jump in the Cessna and you're like flying away as these cars are chasing you. That's always fun. Very movie. Talks about your gear. This is how to build the journey. So if you're like, how do I even play this game? You could just roll on all these tables, and it makes itself, really, if you have some imagination and a couple sparks from these tables. So like journey length, depending on how long you want to play it, how many stops you should have. Gives you some examples, how to start the journey, ask some questions, introduce some goals of the characters, how to prepare the stop. So like terrain, population, communication, size, prosperity, weather, everything. Electric state elements of the stop, some 90s nostalgia of the stop, setting the scene. Some things that are stopping you, like bad weather, accidents, herd of animals, some NPCs, some conflicts, some countdowns, drawing the map, some location ideas, how to play it, like what to do. Sit back and enjoy the game. Activate a threat. Let an NPC tell a rumor. Let an NPC ask for help. Point out a need. Cut in time and space to a new scene. How to pace the game. NPC reactions. How to improvise. It's got a lot of how to really get into the mindset. And then the threats is cool. Like Look at that, they're all on top. So cool. What kind of threats you can have? There's like violent threats like law enforcement officers, secret agents, gangs, and crazed killers. Manipulative threats, so cultists, local strongmen, cultists. That would be fun. So almost Cthulhu you could do with cultists. Technological threat, robots, drones, gross systems, environmental threats, extreme weather, past sins. You're at a stop and someone recognizes you, personal threats. And then it goes over each one, gives you some little quick stats. You don't need a stat for everything because you can just kind of figure out how they're kind of averaging it out, and you can kind of bump it up one or drop it down one. This art is just so awesome, so evocative of cool ideas. Some robots, cool. Into the dust. And then it has, for each of your archetypes, gives you some ideas of some threats, some countdowns. So that's kind of like phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 of this story for each of them. Some typical kind of more NPCs, how to start the game, more encounters. So this really starts giving you, that's freaky. I don't know. So this is kind of building it up. So they actually give you a whole bunch of encounters that you can play through if you don't even know. You could run the encounters in the book. So it gives, I'm not going to go through those in case any players are listening in. It just kind of gives you some ideas. So that's like stop 1, stop 2, gives you some maps, some things going on, some NPCs. Just a lot of stuff. And then they have solo play. So yeah, Year Zero is getting everything solo. They're very solo friendly. So it tells you how to make it, and it gives you lots of tables. Even more tables. Yeah, here's where it was. Here's a roll on your 90s vehicle. Pontiac Grand Prix, 96 Ford Explorer, Eddie Bauer version. That's funny. 1996 Chevy mini truck, 93 Saturn, 95 Dodge Neon. Yeah, I had that in college. 92 Honda Accord. Starting journey, personal threats, more. Roll, tons of roll tables, tons of ideas. Like, it should be easy for any GM to just pick up some dice, throw them, and come up with a quick adventure. And then character sheet. Some pre-made characters for the adventure that they write in the book. And lo and behold, the high-tech index. Thank you, Free League. You're so great. Indexes for all. No ribbon, though. What's up with that, Free League? You forgot. Oh, well, that's okay. So, yeah, that was the Electric State. I think it's a really evocative, kind of cool idea. Like I say, I think it's really great to have different things to play, not just fantasy. I mean, I think, like I say, I do like maybe 70-ish fantasy and 30 non-fantasy stuff. It's a great like in-betweener, palate cleanser, or just I'm tired of I'm run out of ideas. I've run out of giant spiders and skeleton things to throw at you. Let's take a little break from it, do something completely different, and then let's go back and have our charged batteries. Real quick, I haven't mentioned any of this, so thanks for staying this long, but I actually have a drive-through RPG page. It's all free. Pay what you want. Throw me a shilling or not. But I have an Electric State cheat sheet. I have a Dragonbane cheat sheet too, which is like my top rated selling thing. It's nice for GMs. It kind of 1 or 2 pages kind of refresh you. So you don't even need it at the table. It's a good refresher, but sometimes you forget one little thing and you don't want to flip through the book because no books, that's bad. No books at the table. But if you want to go, bam, look up something real quick within 1 or 2 seconds, I'm usually cool with that. but I don't want to get out of the flow. So anything that takes me out, not cool. So yeah, that's it. Electric State. Yeah, check it out. It's really fun. I really enjoyed it. So I give it a great rocket punch of enjoyment. Thanks, guys. See you later. Bye.